Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bizchicks TV. This is the place for tips, tools, strategies, everything you need to take the hassle out of your hustle so that you can build a profitable business that's fun to run. Today is Tuesday. The Digital Diva is in the house, and we are here to learn and grow and get some information that's going to very much take the hassle out of our hustle. So Terry Johnson online from New York City, right here, right now. Let's get started and welcome everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of marketing talk, then where we talk about marketing strategies, tips, and tools, and news, and case studies, and anything that I think is going to help us with this, this marketing strategy that we are always building. And as you can see, you build it once, but you have to keep looking at it and refining it because things change in the world. So the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the economy and what you need to do and all of that good stuff. And now let's look at a report. And this report, we talk about this every year. It's the Edison Research, the Infinite Dial, where they look at online audio, podcasting, social media, and I believe they look at audio in the car. Like they measure that with the survey. And of course, they have a survey sample size. I think it's five. They do a 5,000 um, 5,000 people sample size, and they talk to them. Um, and actually, I think they. I was reading something. They were saying that this study is one of a kind because others they talk to people on social media. I believe this study that they contact people directly. I'm not sure how, I didn't get into the details of it, but I just thought that was interesting. So we're going to talk about the social media part of it and the podcasting part of it. It is like almost 60 pages. I took out what we needed, and if we need to talk about the rest or we run out of time, we could do a part two. I will put the link in. I have it somewhere, but you can. It's not anything that you have to pay for. It's a free study, and you just click on it. You get the PDF, and you can look at it. So let's take a look at. It is called. I want to get the name right. And I wrote it down. It is the Infinite Dial 2025 report from Edison Research, which is a research company, and they study data and everything. So let's take a look. I'm going to bring the slides up. Share my screen. I thought I had it. Here we go. Okay. Let me close some of my. I have too many tabs open, guys. There we go. Okay. The Infinite Dial 2025 by Edison Research. And then they, as they've grown, now they have partners, Cumulus Media, Sirius XM Media, and Audacity. The next slide should have some details. Let me see. Nope, there we go. I was like, how do I work this thing? Okay, so the study overview. The Infinite Dial is the longest running survey of digital media consumer behavior in America. The annual reports in this series have covered a wide range of digital media and topics since 1998. The Infinite Dial tracks mobile behaviors, internet audio, podcasting, social media, smart speakers, and more. So they do a lot in this survey, in this study. And I think... So this is what's in the report. They do media technology, social media, online audio brands, podcasting, in-car media. Then they have a little section with observations, which, is their little opinion piece. Now, the study methodology is how they set up the study. So in January 2025, Edison Research conducted a national survey of 5,020 people aged 12 and older. They did telephone surveys and they did online surveys. They did both in English and Spanish. And so they weighted it to what they call the population figure. So whenever there's a study, you don't have to talk. I think there's like 50 something Americans. You don't need to talk to all of them. You do what they call a sample study, which is they go by state and they say, well, the population in the state, and then they determine who to talk to. So that's why they only need 5,000. This is like, standard for studies, for doing any kind of marketing research study. You don't talk to everybody. They have people that determine who they need to talk to. All right, so we got something new here. Smart TV ownership. And why am I bringing this part up? Smart TV ownership.
Mm.
Look at the growth. So 2021, it was 61 million. In 2025 is 75 million. But look at the image. YouTube is on there. That we've been talking about YouTube. YouTube has put out articles and everything saying how they are putting more into smart TV. People, they have studies that show that people are watching YouTube more on the TV. And you
Yeah,
get a steady growth, right?
and it is true. I
So,
I watch I
mhm,
watch YouTube on the TV.
right,
And I only use the one on my phone if I'm traveling. If I'm moving someplace.
right.
Anyway, um, and they made the controls better on the TV. Before you couldn't, it was hard to subscribe and to do
Mhm,
things,
mhm, mhm.
but they made it better.
See, YouTube is really proud of that. They are pushing into, having, and this goes into the tie-in where I said we need to be on YouTube. YouTube is going to be the place where everybody's going. I said Netflix, the reason why I talk about the economy, people are not going to have a lot of discretionary income for Netflix. Netflix is gonna go. I still need entertainment. So if I'm not watching free TV, we listed it was Tubi and a couple of Freebie and a couple others. Where does everybody go already for stuff?
YouTube.
YouTube. YouTube. There's growth there, potential there. So
Mm.
I was like, we got to talk about this smart TV ownership because people are going to start increasingly watching YouTube and other stuff. So they're saying smart TVs are now in 3/4 of American homes. And remember that who's still watching TV is going to be an older demographic. They're not spelling that in this report, but I'm just saying that that's is one of the things that's known. Like the older YouTube is getting older consumers, older viewers. So if that is your group, you want to start making content for them because they're going to watch YouTube on this smart TV. All right, so here's the social media section. Let's get into that. Now, social media usage, and it's estimated at 248 million. And this, I love to look at bar graphs because you see the trend and you see the progression of it. Like, this is not a shocker. So from 2008, when they started measuring it up until 2025, you see the growth there. Even though there are people talking about social media is bad and, throw in all the things. Yes, there is censorship. There is this, there is that. But it's still where people are hanging out. Can we agree on that?
Yep.
They don't go to the mall.
Mm-mm.
That was the 80s. That was the place to be.
Yeah, and the people, when they want to try and find people they used to go to school with or do anything, first place they go is social media. They're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this, I was like, yeah, this is a nice chart. There's nothing shocking here. Social media usage is increasing no matter what is being said about TikTok, about Meta, about this, that, and the other. It's where people are. That's where they are. So social media reaches 86% of Americans with clear divides and platform preferences by generations. We talk about that all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always tell you that's why I talk about the generations and we talk about the boomers and the Gen X and the millennials and the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha and whatever's coming after that. Because it's divided preferences by generation. And you need to know that why, because you have a target audience and you need to know the things that they like and where they like to hang out. All right, so social media brand awareness. This is, are you aware of this as a brand, not the usage? Are you aware of Facebook? Everybody knows Facebook, 94%. I always say that you want to be there. Even if, well, let me stop, because you might not, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, you might not, if that's your group, you might not want to spend a lot of time there because that's not their jam. And like people like that's not their jam. Next one is Instagram. Now that is where you're going to get Gen Z and millennials. TikTok, you're definitely going to get the younger crowd. And one thing about TikTok, I know there is the discussion about, oh, is it going to be around? Oh, the 90, well, what are we in a 90-day pause or a 90-day? I don't know where we are. TikTok is still here. So remember, TikTok skews younger, yes, but there's a lot of the older generations going on. So that is potential for you as a business or brand if that is your generation. You want to start thinking about TikTok. And remember, TikTok, short form video. Even though they're making it longer, I think now it goes up to 10 minutes. I'm not sure. I think we talked about that. But it's mostly 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 1 minute. There's a whole like variable of time in there. So
Right.
so you want to go on if your audience is say Gen X, you want to go on there with the sense of, I always said that people dancing and pointing. What happened to that? Remember that? The pointing?
Oh, that's all gone.
They don't do that anymore. I told you they weren't going to do that anymore. That was a thing, a fad. Come on. And I used the example, I forgot his name. I follow him everywhere. That he talked about Facebook ads, running Facebook ads for a business. And he got on TikTok over a year ago and he talked about he didn't want to go on it because he was like, why am I going to go on and talk about Facebook ads? That's boring. But he went on as a talking head with his experience and his knowledge. And within a year, he grew his TikTok where the people are seeing videos. And remember, as a business, you're on social media to what? Put content, get attention. So they buy. How do they buy? Link in bio. So that's all we're concerned about. We're not on that influencer track where, I got to get all of these followers. I got to get all these likes. I got to get all of these things because they have to take that to a brand and say, this is my level of influence. Whereas if you're a business or a brand, solopreneur, whatever, you have an online store and you're, trying to sell digital products, whatever, that's the business track. You want your content to sell and point them to the link because that's your store.
Yep.
How else are they going to buy from you? People get on, well, I do this, I do. Well, are you the traffic cop telling them where to go? Here's the content. If you want XYZ, if you want la la la, link in bio. Check out my this. Or the new thing now, well, not new, they've been doing it for a while, is the DM automation.
Yeah.
It's still what? A link to your store. Whether it's link in bio, link tree, stand store, Gumroad, I don't care what you call it. Shopify, Etsy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's the platform to buy. It's your store. That's what we're about. So Snapchat is still on here, but this is social media brand awareness, not usage. Right. So Snapchat is next. Twitter is still hanging in there. Pinterest is over LinkedIn. Brand awareness, not usage. Then Reddit, Threads, Discord, True Social, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's get into usage. That's gonna be a whole nother story.
Yep.
That's a whole different. Now we getting into the okay. This is what I'm interested in. Brand usage. Facebook is on top, 66. Instagram 48%, TikTok 34%, Pinterest over LinkedIn again. Why? Why? Does anybody know why?
Because it's interesting. Okay. Pinterest. Okay. No, I'm just saying it's more interesting than LinkedIn.
Yeah. So right. You're right. LinkedIn is the always call it like, you would go into the bank tellers, they were all dressed alike in the blue blazer and the white shirt. because it's financial, it's banking. They're not going to have dancing clowns. They should, but it's going to, it has to reassure people. So LinkedIn has to reassure people because it is business oriented.
Yep.
But now I have not looked in deeply into why Pinterest is going. I have an idea. It's because of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They're starting to use this because Pinterest is a search engine. Yes, we all know that. But like Fran said, it's interesting. There's pictures. There's they even had the app. I'm not sure if they're still using it. It was an app to make collages to go on Pinterest. So Pinterest is
Yep.
very visual. LinkedIn is not.
Yes.
So that's my theory. I'm going to look in more into it, but that's my theory just from reading stuff and knowing what's going on with Gen X, not Gen X, sorry, Gen Z. Gen X is there too, but Gen Z, millennial, the younger crowd love it because it's visual and there is not the pressure of Instagram there's that pressure, the mental wellness of they must keep up with the perfection of people that I'm trying to say it, it's not coming out right. People go on Instagram in this age group and they pretend to have, let's say they go on a fabulous vacation or they have a fabulous life, and a lot of it is pretend. But to
Right.
the younger generation, that is too much emotional wellness pressure for them because they
Right.
feel like they have to be that when we're older. I'm like, I know I don't have to be that.
Correct. And yeah. And then Pinterest, you just go get to put up your boards and you get to
Mhm.
dream. It's kind of like vision boards and
Yes,
where you'd like your life to be, that type of thing. They're not stressed out.
exactly. Exactly. There's no pressure on Pinterest for them to keep up or be this or be that. Pinterest is fun. Like Fran says, you make your vision board, you dream about having the perfection or having and then the older generations, we go on to look at interior design or weddings or crafts or, there's so many categories to look at in Pinterest. Also, the beauty industry is
Yep.
big over there. So that's the deal. But LinkedIn is, like we talked about, I think the last couple of people, the older people that were looking for jobs and they were on LinkedIn and nothing was happening. I'm like, well, it's not that kind of place where you're there to network with business minded people. So that's why LinkedIn is like that. Snapchat next, Reddit, Twitter, X, Twitter, whatever, Discord, Threads, Blue Sky, True Social, Mastodon. And what do we think of this chart as far as usage? It pretty much lines up with how I think it should be.
Well, okay. So starting with Mastodon, it is insanely difficult. So only people who are just gun ho, we're just going to have to be somewhere else gun ho if we're going to do Mastodon. Those people are over there. I'm like, I understand technology. I went in there, tried to use Mastodon. I was like, this is crazy.
I'm surprised it's on there, but you know what? I just thought of something. You remember something called a ham radio
Yes,
operator? They would get on the. That's what that is.
it's a unique set of
Yes,
people who does ham radio or uh,
techie, not techie in the sense, but this is Mastodon gives them something that they like, and they're there.
yeah,
That's
it kind of reminds me. Are we talking about the trucker radio people or
yeah. They would
the
get
breaker
on
breaker
the
19
CB
and
and they would talk, or even there was groups on. I think like people that were in astronomy were on and they would talk to each other over whatever device. I'm trying to remember. It's real foggy for me.
it was like breaker 19
Yeah,
and they would
it was.
the
Everybody
truckers
wasn't doing that
and
back
the
then.
truckers had their own
Yes, they had their
communication
own. That's
system.
how they knew. the weather or an accident or the best stop or the best they would talk to each
Yes.
other over this airwave.
Yep.
That's what Mastodon is to me.
Yeah.
That's
Because
that's
I
why I
was
said
like,
I thought of it. It was like,
and
okay.
because they had their own language,
Yes.
and you walk into the
How did
room,
you
you're
find?
gonna
But how did you find out how to get on, or how did you find? And Mastodon is like that. You have to find how to get
somebody
on.
you have to find somebody else
Yes.
who knew how to do that.
Yes.
So from time to time, I'll ask somebody, "Well, what's your 20? What does that mean? What's your 20 means? What is your location?"
Yes.
But you don't know that
Yes.
unless you
Unless you
are
are
part
part
of
of,
that.
yeah, you are part of that community and it was interesting to you. A lot of people are not interested in this because I can go to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and that's very easy. I open my phone up. There's the app. I know what to do. Or I go to the desktop. I know what to do. Mastodon, you don't know what to do unless you're inside of the club.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't want to be in the club because it's not necessary to be there. So I'm surprised to see True Social, but hey,
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
platform.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
was gonna. I'm just the trucker commute. That is a community.
yes,
The
small,
trucker.
but a community.
Wow. I'm talking to Charles here to find out what it's called because I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but for some, when we're talking, these things come up to me. I was like, I didn't even think about that when Jessica and I were working on putting this together, and I was
CB
like,
radio.
hey, what is
CB
it?
radio.
Yes, that's
Okay.
it.
I was like, I know this.
That's it. I was saying ham, but I think the ham part of it was if you were like in astronomy or there was other communities that would use the radio communication to talk to each
Right.
other.
Right. So
But
it
the
says,
CB one is the trucker community.
and it says it is citizens band radio. Truckers
Okay.
use it to talk to each other, get traffic reports, report hazard, or just pass the time.
Okay.
And channel 19 is the most commonly used highway communication. So you dialed into channel 19 and whatever was happening anywhere on the whole thing, you can know what was going. That's how they gathered together. And, you know, remember
Okay.
Smokey and the Bandit? Or it
Yes.
was a way old movie, but
Old movies. That was the thing where they would talk on the radio. But that's what I think about.
yeah, with Mastodon. Yeah. I don't know about Blue Sky. I, I have a Blue Sky account, but I was like, well, that is
It's
just extra work.
it's Mastodon, but there's more people. And the
Right.
next slide is going to explain a little bit why Blue Sky is a thing. So let me get to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, not this one. It's the next one. But let's look at this one because this is from 2023 to 2024, 2025. So you see the difference.
Okay.
So in 2023, Facebook's still on top, then Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and then LinkedIn and Snapchat kind of and X, Twitter was kind of like neck and neck. But now if you look at the blue, which is 2025, Facebook's still on top, then Instagram, then TikTok. Pinterest was going back and forth between the 3 years. But if you looked at LinkedIn, Snapchat, and Twitter, let's look at the X Twitter. So 2023, 27%, 2024, 19%, 2025, 22%. So it was up, down, up. And why do we think that is?
Because of the political climate.
Yes. And there's a slide that will talk more about it. Not that I care about, my personal feelings. I really don't pay attention to X, Twitter, whatever they're calling themselves. And I know they got AI called Grok, and people are talking about you. I don't use any of that. So
And then there's other people who are in the industry, different industries, and they're just stuck
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And I was like, really? Okay. They haven't found someplace else to go, apparently.
That's a part of it about finding a place to go. That's a part of it. Because what happened with Twitter is why Blue Sky is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, here we go. Here's the slide I want to talk about. This is X Twitter uses by political affiliation. This tells the tale. So 2023, 2024, 2025, broken out by Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. So let's look at the Democrats. 2023 was 34%, 2025, 22%. Democrats. Let's skip. I'm going to skip the independents for now because they're kind of in the middle. Republicans, 2023, 20%, 2024, 21, 2025, 25%. This explains what's going on. The Democrats left Twitter, went to Blue Sky. They're on Substack. There are other places. Republicans or Republican leaning, and let's say MAGA, they're happy with Twitter for a lot of reasons. One is the guy that bought it. Two is it's their little playpen. They're having fun over there. And so I looked at this chart. I was like, okay, this is the tail of the tape. Independents, same thing. They kind of lean, independents kind of lean Democrat. A lot of them do. So that's why their grouping is aligned with what happened with the Democrats. So this is all the election. That guy bought at Twitter and messed it up. There's a lot of hate speech. There's a lot of this, that, and the other. But the other group, they love that. So there was more of them. So they decided to come over. Everybody get that?
Okay.
That's what happened. And they specifically asked this question. So that's what's happening with X and Twitter. So it's thriving because there's a certain group of people that are loving it. And I say, enjoy. We left and we went somewhere else. And that's good because there's more than one place to go.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're looking at brand usage by Democrat and Republicans. And these are people that identify as one or the other. So they specifically asked them that. So you can take a look. The Twitter section here. Truth Social. That's a big tail of the tape. Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, 9% Democrats, 1% Republicans. Truth Social, 2% Democrats, 7% Republicans. Why is that? Why is it Blue Sky and Truth Social like that?
Because the people who left Twitter went to one of them places.
Birds of a feather flock together, and they're enjoying it over there. Blue Sky, very proud of the fact that they don't have any Republican MAGA. Well, they have some because there's a 1% here, but they're really on top of. Don't come. I've seen lots of posts. Don't come over here and bring that Twitter mess over here or wherever or the True Social stuff. Same thing with Threads. I've seen a lot of. Don't come over here with that because we love it here as what we're doing. We left Twitter. You guys can have it. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Threads. We're Reddit. Definitely on Reddit. And Snapchat is a surprise. That it's more Republicans than Democrats. But the rest kind of go with what I would think it would be. But the tail here, look at Threads, Blue Sky, and True Social. It's where they want to hang out. It's the conversations. I feel better on Blue Sky if I'm aligned with Democrats. I feel better on True Social if I'm aligned with public, because those people are there and they're having the conversations and they're speaking the language and saying the things that they say as a group and they feel comfortable with it. So that's why they're there. Interesting.
Mm.
All right. So social media brand used most often. This is not broken out by political party. Okay. So here we go. 12 and the total 12 and up. Facebook 45%, Instagram 19%, TikTok, then Snapchat, then X, then Pinterest, then other. Other would be True Social, Blue Sky, the ones we saw earlier. Now, this is broken out by age, which is more important to me. Age 12 to 34. Facebook is 23%. That does not shock me. Instagram and no, TikTok. Instagram and TikTok tied. Then Snapchat, then X, Twitter, then Pinterest, then other. Remember, this is 12 to 34. 35 to 54. Facebook, 50. And then Instagram, and then TikTok, then Snapchat, X, Pinterest, and then other. 55 and up. These are the boomers. 68% brand used most often. This is where they hanging out. This is the most important slide here. Where they hanging out? Facebook, 68%. Instagram, 8.
8%. They did not. Okay, so all of y'all who tried to get them people to come from Facebook, come on over to Instagram. They did not want to go. Even though their Instagram account, even though
They're
they
connected, it's all meta. Right. It's all meta.
right, they have an Instagram account, but they didn't click to go over.
It's not, again, like I was saying about the Blue Sky and the True. It's where they want to be. Where does the 55 and up group feel most comfortable? Facebook. So then we have Facebook, Instagram, and then TikTok. Snapchat is a real slim one. They had to really work hard to get that 1% Snapchat into this chart. It was like, X.
And those are the people probably like us. I have a Snapchat account. Ask me if I go on it.
No,
I'm part of that 1% of the Snap.
but see, remember, this is used, not having. There's actually some that are going on and using it.
Okay,
could
never
be because
mind.
now let's talk about this. Could be because in age 24 to 34, there's 11% usage. That is the grandchildren, great grandchildren. Where are they talking? You can't get a kid to talk on the phone. If you're not texting them, where are they hanging out? Snapchat. So guess what? I'm grandma. I want to talk to my grandchild. Grandma. And remember, Snapchat is not one thing. There's several different feeds, and there's a private section where you can have a private conversation with one or more people. That is what's happening with Snapchat with 55 and up and the 12 to 34s. Because why? If grandma and grandpa is on Facebook 68% of the time, but the grandchildren are there 23% of the time, I think it's less than that, but let's go with 23. Where are you going to talk to your grandchildren? Where they are. They're not coming to Facebook.
No.
Mark Zuckerberg would love for them to come to Facebook. Facebook, not Instagram. Facebook. He knows they're not coming. He knows they're not coming. But see, that's why the 1% is there for the 55 and up. Where do I get to talk to my family, my younger family members? Not even grandchildren, could be, younger children, godchild, whoever, they're on Snapchat. You got to talk to them. Again, with the same thing with the TikTok, but not really, because TikTok is not really the conversation place. like Snapchat is the phone for these kids.
Hmm.
Really, it is. I
Right, because a lot of you're right. They're not making phone calls, making a call. They're not sending text messages to people. They are on Snap.
12 to 34. Think about how they communicate. They're on Snapchat. Communication as far as talking on the phone or texting,
Hmm.
they're on Snapchat. So I'm the older person. I need to have the app, and I go in, and I know you know where to go in to have a conversation because they've sent you a message. All you do is tap it.
Yep.
You can type, you can leave an audio message, you can do, there's different things in there. But see, the older person doesn't have to know how to work Snapchat. They're going to get a notification on the screen, and they tap it, and there's, my grandson, my granddaughter saying blah blah blah, and all I gotta do is tap it and respond. See, they're
Correct.
not in the spotlight, they're not watching the video. They may, but not probably not. That's just speculation. Okay, so this, I like this chart because it's brand used most often, broken out by age in a clear, you can't miss where they
Sure.
are by color, right?
So,
I would save this one. I'm going to put the link for you to download the file, but this page, I
yes.
want this one.
Mm.
Okay.
And we should govern ourselves accordingly. Where are your people? Where
This
are
is
they on
most
this chart?
important. Where do I
Wow.
post? Well, what's your age group? No brainer. 55, Facebook. You could do the others, but I just explained why Snapchat is there, and it's not for content in the sake of getting somebody, into your funnel, or to sell them, or to your store. That's not what it's for. It's for
Mhm.
communication with the younger family members. All right, so let's move on. And this goes into what would TikTok users use most often if TikTok were banned. This was surprising that they would go over to, and they being 12 to 34, they would go to Instagram over Facebook and YouTube.
Mm, very interesting.
And then you have the 35 to 54, they're going to Facebook. That's not a shocker. What's consistent is the YouTube numbers 16, 15, 17. There's not like a wide swing like with Facebook.
Hmm.
And you know why the 13 to 38 to 43 for Facebook is because that's what they use the most, the previous chart where they use it the most. Instagram, that's not a shocker for me for 12 and 34 because that's where they're going to go. I would hope they would go to YouTube, but I look at the opposite side of this as, okay, they're not going to YouTube. This is an opportunity to start building up that platform when they come over, because eventually they will go to YouTube. The younger crowd, they might go to Instagram, but they're going to swing to YouTube. I have another chart that they didn't include in this study. I'm going to show you at the end
Mm.
about YouTube. All right, so should be social media being banned in the US for anyone under 16. That's a discussion. So they break it out by men and women, by age, and Democrats and Republicans. I'm like, they're not gonna ban it.
Oh, you mean total social media?
Yeah, there's a whole where did I read a story today that some state was banned, that they was it Florida or someplace that banned it?
That's
Ban
not going to
social media,
work.
or you have either it's banned or you have to have parental permission if you're under.
That is not going to be a thing. Only that, okay, because the horse is out of the barn, the water's under the bridge,
It's
whatever
on
you
the
want.
phone. How are you going? They have a phone for other reasons. So
And if they can get internet, who's going to stop them from
you
doing that?
can't. You give them the phone. There's no block unless you give them a phone that you. I think there's a phone. for parents that you can put on and you can have certain things only? I'm not sure. But then there's a movement, especially with the younger crowd, that they are going to flip phones, the Motorola, they call them dummy phones,
Mm-hmm.
the Motorola clams that only make calls. Because of this is because of the stress of social media, like I said earlier about keeping up with the perfection and stuff. But that's a that's them self-policing. This
Right.
is like a ban. So I don't see this
Oh,
happening. I was like, yeah,
okay.
well,
You can't just take. I okay. That's like banning a book or something. You can't tell people what they gonna read, not read, watch, not watch.
yeah. So they almost half of America support ban. Yeah, they support it. It's not happening. Oh,
Oh
let
my.
me before we move on. Is there anything we want to discuss here? Because I think we've been pretty thorough with the slides for social
I think
media.
so. It's very interesting to me why they would even try that. Um,
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even. I think I read a story about some state trying it, Florida, Oklahoma, somebody. It's
let's see
not.
how they goes.
Do you remember we talked a while back about, I think it was Minnesota that wanted to ban TikTok, and they had
Yeah,
some state thing, and what
and
happened to that?
the people were crying, "Oh my God, I won't have no business on TikTok if you ban it." Really?
What happened to that? It's a
It's not
non-issue.
banned.
It's a non-issue. So that's why I was like, I didn't even really pay attention to this slide about should it be banned. That's political societal thing that's going to ebb and flow, but of course they're going to support it because, like I said, social media is bad, but they're all on it. The parents are all on it, but you want to ban it for them.
Okay, and the parents are the ones who got the kids on it.
You bought
So,
the phone.
well, what I'm saying is the parents now are um, Generation Y, X.
Yeah.
They're the parents.
Yes.
They grew up with this. They're going to pass it down to the kids. Here's your phone. I need you to contact me when you get to school or blah blah blah, whatever.
All right. Let's take a look because there's the audio section. There's some stuff in here about, and the audio is not podcast. This is just audio online listening, which would be the Sirius, the terrestrial media, the radio that's not the radio.
Yeah, like iHeartRadio and that
Yes,
kind of
yes.
stuff.
The what's the other one? Sirius. There's a couple others. So this is online radio is listening to AM FM radio stations online and are listening to stream audio content available only on the internet. So this is only internet only. Online audio reaches all-time high. 79% of Americans listen monthly. I just wanted to show this part because it's all about listening, about audio before we get to
Mhm.
the podcast.
So there are people,
Here we go.
apparently,
Let's do this.
according to this study, that are listening to radio stations on their phones or other digital device.
Yes.
And if you're a business owner, you need to be aware of that. Maybe you
Yes.
take out a radio ad
Yes.
because
Online audio. Mm-hmm.
mm,
Because
I'm,
this study does break out in car, which is a different thing from online audio, which is online is available somewhere on a website, on an app, on a whatever.
mm,
Okay, and so they broken out brand awareness: Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, NPR One, Audacity, and TuneIn Radio. This is brand awareness. You're aware of those names.
mm, mm.
Now listen to, this is usage. Listen to in the last month. Spotify is on top. YouTube Music is second. Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. Okay.
It's interesting that Pandora is up that high.
Yeah.
Pandora used to be the place to go, then Spotify
Before
came in and took
Spotify.
over. Yeah.
Before Spotify became a thing, it was Pandora Music. Because I remember, I think I have an account,
Right.
and
I
that
have
was the
not
place.
listened. Yeah, I have not listened to Pandora in a long time.
Yeah. So here we go by brand used most often. Spotify is on top. Then YouTube Music, Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and other. So it's also broken out by age. So if you're interested in that, I want to get to the podcast before we run out of time. This
Uh,
is audio book listening. If you're interested in that, that is online
oh,
audio. It's
mm.
in here. Now here we go, the podcasting section. Podcasting. Let's take a look at that. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay, podcasting familiarity. That means you know what a podcast is and you're familiar with it. So they started recording this or asking this in 2006. You can see 22% aware of podcasting. 2025, 85% are aware of podcasting in America. You're aware of it. Because when podcasting first came out, they didn't really know what it was. What's a pod? What? And it was really based, I think it was Apple. It was Apple only when it first came out, the podcasting.
Apple had the Apple podcasts were probably the most prevalent, and then we have oh
Oh,
a comment from Mark. They said they are listening monthly, but not to me.
hey, Mark. All right. So ever listen to a podcast? Here's the percentage. And I want you to look, when you look at this chart, just look at the progression. Steady growth is what's here.
Mm-hmm.
Steady growth. From 2006, when it was a niche thing, it was very small and a few people listened and a few people put out podcasts. I'm trying to remember the guy, Leo Laporte, and he built his, I forgot what it is. It's a network, and he started out in 2006. And I remember listening to all his different shows that he had different hosts, and they talked about different things. Oh, what is the name of the network? He was like one of the first people that was into podcasting, doing a podcast, having a network. It was very popular. I think his name is Leo Laporte. Let me Google that real. Yes. So the tech, okay, Twit. That was it. Founder of TWIT.TV.
Oh,
Twit. Twit was really big back in like 2006 and up. So they're saying I have to do some digging on it, but it was Twit. TWIT.TV. It was in California, started in April 2025. So it was a
2025.
2025. The podcast network that broadcasts technology focused podcasts, founded by broadcaster and author Leo Laporte in 2005. So I remember they had a real popular show called This Week in Tech. And it was podcast first, and then he did like the visual video part of it. Like they filmed it and then you can watch it. I wonder what happened to Twit. I have to look at that some more. But that just came up to me when I looked at it from 2006. Was like, who was in it way back then? It was Leo. I remember his name because he had this, it was like Leo Laporte, like one of those names that stick out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So he had the network was called Twit, TWIT.TV. And I listened to a lot of shows. He had a whole lot of different hosts and podcasts. And it was a big deal when they switched to video, showing the video of the shows. I'm about to do a deep dive in and see what's going on with them. All right. So service used most often to listen to podcasts. Oh, look. What's 33%?
Oh, YouTube podcasts.
What's next? Spotify at 26% and Apple Podcasts 14%. Womp womp. Womp womp. See, I keep talking about YouTube and the numbers are supporting it. YouTube is doing things to shore up their platform. It's just a matter of time. So, YouTube is on top. Podcasts. Percentage of US weekly podcast listeners 13 and up. Interesting. Now, ever consumed a podcast is they've listened to one, at least one. 70% listen to a podcast. 51% watch the podcast. Because remember, you can watch them on YouTube, and now Spotify is has some the video part of the podcasting. I have not looked at it yet, but I know that they started to add video. 73% consume the podcast. That means they listen to the entire thing.
Okay, so Mark is saying my first podcast was on Blog Talk Radio a long time ago. We're talking George W. Bush days.
When you said that, Mark, I was like,
Blog Talk.
I hear the little jingle with the lady going Blog Talk Radio.
And that before that, he sent audio messages to clients and former clients via email. That was more labor intensive.
Yes.
So I get that. Getting an audio message. Wow.
Yeah. So audio has been around, important for a long time. It's steady growth. That's why I want, when you see all of these charts on podcasts, steady growth. 2006, small numbers, niche market. Only the techie people, or only the people that were interested in this were consuming podcasts into the podcast. Now today, I believe that Shannon Sharp has a deal with somebody for $100 million
for his podcast.
Yes, I have to look it up. I just heard people talking about it, that he's got some deal coming up, and I'm like, oh, interesting, for the Club Shay Shay. And he does some other shows with what's his name, the football player, Chad Ochocinco. What's his name? So we'll see what's going on, but that's what's going on. Steady growth. So this is Ever Consumed a Podcast. Steady growth. That's what we need to look at from 2006 to 2025. So next year it'll be 20 years. Steady growth. Podcast consumption overview. Here we go. So listen and watch to a podcast, 48%. Never listened or watch a podcast, 27%. Ever listened to a podcast but never watched, 22%. Ever watched a podcast but never listened, 3%. Now, I want you to look at this orange section. Never listened to or watched a podcast. That's a big number of people who have never consumed a podcast. That is growth. That is an area of growth, to where there will be that number. They will join the 48% at some point. Maybe not in a year, maybe in 2 years. You never know where you're going to pick these people up, because people are making podcasts on all kind of topics. So your podcast on topics is how you attract the listeners, because it's something that I want to consume. I want to listen to it. Right? So there's growth, steady growth. Everything about the podcast, all these charts, steady growth of podcasting, steady growth of podcasting. It's not slowing down. It's not fast. It's steady growth. All right, I'm trying to get my mouse is not. Let me do the keyboard. I got too many tabs open. Sorry. Did we skip? No, we didn't skip one. Okay. Monthly podcast consumption. Again, steady growth. This is monthly. Podcasting achieves new heights. 55% of Americans now monthly consumers. Why is this important? Why is the monthly number important? Steady growth. Room to grow. Room for you. If you want to do a podcast, it's not too late. There's room to grow. But you have to make sure that your podcast, the messaging is is correct, which means that you're hitting the target audience. It has to be something that they want to listen to, and you have to think about length. Because remember, the podcast, people think a podcast has to be an hour. It doesn't. It could be
10 minutes.
Because Mark's is 5 minute, 4 minute,
Yeah, 4 minute mark.
4 minute.
Right. Here's Mark has a couple of comments too.
Okay,
He
let's do.
says the Smartless podcast sold to Sirius XM for over 100 million, and he's selling his for a box of saltines and a drink of water. And then he said, no generic crackers, brand only. Zesta preferred. He's a professional.
Listen, what I love, Mark, and this what you should pick from this is that there's steady growth. There is no up and down. When you see these charts, there's no up and down, and then also that pie chart where there's that percentage, that large percentage of they've never. That's a pool of people to pull from, because eventually they're going to be pulled in somehow. So when people are saying, well, there's too many podcasts, I mean, no, there's too many podcasts where there's people are not reaching a target audience because they're there.
Yeah, because the people who want to hear you want to hear from you.
Yes.
Right? There are certain people that you gravitate to. I'm going to talk about Waveform podcast. I'm into tech, so I will listen to Waveform podcast to find out what is happening in the tech realm, whatever tech it is. Now, I may not be into the Nintendo Switch, but I'm like, okay, but I'll tune in just enough to see what was happening
Right.
in that space. Remember the other place we used to go for tech stuff, and they're no longer on. Oh my gosh, the other people, they used to come on Fridays and be live.
Oh yes, I know
Social
who you're
Media
talking about.
Examiner.
I know who you're talking about.
Social Media Examiner.
They're Social Media Examiner. They're doing more like, this is the LinkedIn update, or this is they're doing like the platform update. Like, these are LinkedIn updates, and these are Instagram updates, and these are and then they have a TikTok person come on, or the LinkedIn person come on. That's what they're doing. They're not doing the things with they're not doing that anymore. They're doing more when there's a update. There's a bunch of updates. They have the expert person come on, and then they do, I think it's like 20-30 minutes.
To me, I enjoyed coming into the room with the group, you know what I mean?
Right.
And just learning. Okay, Friday, I'm going to learn about what's happening in social media, in the social media realm.
Right. And see, they're not doing a general thing. They're doing more specific, like this platform, that platform. And when there's updates, and they don't do one update, it has to be, of several. And I think I've seen, like, they don't do it once a week. It's like they alternate between the platforms, and they group them all together, and they have a TikTok person come on, or they have the LinkedIn person come on, and then talk about the updates.
Right.
Mark has some more comments. Yeah.
He said, my podcast is 4 minutes or less, and recently they've been 2 to 3 minutes. I make my point and I'm out. People are busy.
I love that, because that is about making the point. It's not about, well, it has to be 4 minutes. It has to be 20 minutes. It has to be 30 minutes. It's not fitting into the format length. It's, do you have enough to say for 30 minutes? If you don't, make it 10 minutes. Or like Mark says, 2 minutes, whatever it is, you have to say what you need to say and get moving. It's not about, well, my podcast has to be 30 minutes because everybody else's podcast is 30 minutes. You will stand out with a 1, 2, 3. I've seen, there's podcasts that are 1 minute, but you stand out and you make sure you make your point.
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Yep.
Okay, so a few more. This is monthly podcast consumption. Again, listen to a podcast, watch a podcast, consume the podcast. And let's move it. Let's move it. I don't know what's going on. I should
It's
not have so many.
Tuesday.
I have too many. Let me close. I have something. Let me close this app. I have some things open. I forgot about. Okay, there we go. All right. So monthly, excuse me, monthly podcast consumption. This is broken out by year and also by men and women.
Hmm.
So again, what I take from this, steady growth in both groups.
Yep.
Listen or watch a podcast in the last month. Steady growth. Up, 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 up. There's no down. What that tells me, there's room. It's double dutch. Jump on in there. The ropes are moving. They haven't stopped. Get on in there
Mhm.
with your podcast. Okay. All right. So this one is broken out by age 12 to 34, 35 to 54, age 55 and up. Again, steady growth. Steady growth. No matter what grouping you're in. Age 55 and up. I would love to look at that more because there's growth there. Their growth. And look at that big jump, 27 to 38 with the 55s. They are discovering podcasts. Remember that. There's discovery here. That pie chart that had the 20, well, I think it was 27% that never consumed a podcast episode. Never. That's ripe. That's a ripe area. Pluck the good for plucking. Get in there. All right, come on. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Something is slowing me down. I don't have a bunch of stuff open.
We're there now.
Okay. Over. Come on.
You're still there. We see the new
Oh,
one.
yeah, it's slow. Okay, weekly. Okay, this is weekly. Again, steady growth. Weekly podcast consumption, percentage listen or watch a podcast in the last week.
And I this is showing you may want to put ads in the podcast.
That's
You know.
another part of it. Yes. That's another part. If you don't want to do a podcast, well, podcast consumption, you want to be in front of, well, not in front of, but you want to be in the ears of your target audience.
Mm-hmm.
This is weekly podcast consumption. Listen to, watch, or consume a podcast. Now that's the last slide. So they get into observations. I wanted to show you this. Podcast consumption is at an all-time high. All-time high. Audio consumption for podcasts continues to grow, but podcasts using video, using video are attracting more podcast consumers to the medium. Online audio adoption is at an all-time high. So audio is growth, even though it's been around a long time. 2006 with the podcast. There is growth here. There is time to get in. So it also, there's the car audio. We didn't talk about this section. Car audio is becoming increasingly digital. Social media usage continues to expand. Strong public support for social media regulation. That was a slide about
Yeah, half of the people. Yeah.
banning the 16 and unders, which is not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Nope.
And that is the report. What do we think?
We think this is some good stuff because you can make business decisions about your marketing if you know what these trends are. I don't know if people are aware that you can put your ads on podcasts. I'm sure they do because you hear ads on podcasts all the time, but it's not like an oversaturated place. You can get in on some. Okay, say for instance, on the Wave for podcast, you can be a small company and put your marketing on their podcast, like within, because they take a break. And our sponsor today is da 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 da, and they put together a little ad for you, and they put a break in between. You can have captive audience. I don't know how much that would, I don't know if they're using a Mad Men ad agency for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're using an agency for that, or do you contact the podcaster directly? See, this is different now, where you can perhaps contact that podcaster.
Right.
If they're your genre, if they're your community is hanging out with them.
Okay, so I was looking for the link to get the
The
PDF and
report.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you don't have to put in an email address, and you just click on it and you get a copy in it comes in the browser. So you want to take a look at that. I just, every year I talk about this Edison Research Infinite Dial study. It's very interesting because they look at audio, they look at podcasts, and look at social media. So
And if you want to get in touch with TJ to ask questions, get some feedback, um, I think
mhm.
she can do. Are you still doing the little feedback thing that you were doing for people when you looked at their profile or looked at their web? Just to get
Yeah,
a little diagnosis to see
yeah,
what you can probably improve upon. You can talk to terryjohnsononline.com/info and ask your question. Get some
yeah,
answers from a trusted source, and you
yeah,
don't have to, oh, who do I call? Who do I go to online? We have her right here. Terry Johnson online.
yeah.
She can help you.
Everywhere, every platform that you're on, except
Mhm.
for X, I'm not there.
Yeah. So, with that, we want to say thank you for tuning in. You can become a part of the Bizchicks community by texting Biz to 33777 or going to bizchicks.net. However, you got here today, we want to say thank you for watching. We will be talking to you next time. Mark, look for a messenger message from me. Um,
Oh, okay. And
yeah,
check out Mark's podcast.
the 4 minute mark.
It's
Woo!
everywhere. Every podcast place that you listen to your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So that is it. Remember, we're here to help you take the hassle out of your hustle. And oh,
Oh,
okay.
oh, Messenger. Okay, well, is the
I
podcast
think
on
I
that?
can catch you on
Oh, you're talking about the conversations. Yeah.
yeah,
Instagram?
so maybe how do I reach you? YouTube? I think I
Probably.
can reach you to a YouTube on a community. Anyway, I'm gonna find you. Uh I'm gonna do something I probably won't normally do. Mark. Uh, and TJ, you can cut all this out, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I just saw your message about Shannon Sharp, close to securing a podcast deal exceeding 100 million as its contract with the volume nears its end. So he has a network called Shay Shay Media Network, has popular shows like Club Shay Shay, Nightcap with Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson, Club 520, The Bubba Dub Show, and Humble Baddies. I didn't know he had all these shows.
I didn't either. I was like, what? Ooh, I just knew
Yeah,
about two of them.
yeah. And there's some news that came out about there's some woman trying to sue him, but
That ain't
that'll
stopping
shake
that's
out.
not stopping the forward progress.
Yeah, so Club Shay Shay has nearly 4 million YouTube subscribers. And
Mhm.
we all blew up with the Cat Williams episode. So
You never know which one it's going to be. All right, Mark, looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you, everybody.
thank
And we will
you.
see you tomorrow with Coach Karen with
Mhm.
Profits Coming In Daily. Talk to you soon. Oh, and
Bye.
the rest of us will be back on Friday.
Yes.
Yes, Friday with
Right.
Tech
Check
Life
weekly.
Weekly.
Check life.
Woo!
Wrap up. Thanks
Yay.
everybody. Thank you, Mark. Thanks everybody for watching.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.